from the 37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to episode 133 of Pixelated Paranormal. And coming off of last week's Manhattan transfer story, we wanted to keep the creepy alien momentum going, so we opened up the old giant, ever-growing repository of super weird shit that we've come across, and we dug out about 5 or 6 of the weirdest alien encounters that we've come across so far. So grab yourself a snack and something to sip on, and then maybe a blanket, because you're going to want to get comfy for this. Because these aren't your normal alien abduction stories with the Greys and the Reptilians and the Palladians. These are some of the most bizarre creatures that we've read about thus far in our time of doing this podcast. All of that, and that's what you have to say, one gasp. Oh, wonderful. Now, before we get started, I wanted to plug something at the top of the show, and that is the brand new book coming out on February 25th by New York Times bestselling author Daniel Kraus, titled Bent Heavens. Recently, we were fortunate enough to receive an advanced copy of his new book, and I've got to say, I'm only about a third of the way through it, and I'm having a really hard time putting it down already. That's not because I'm saying it to promote the book, just because we're promoting the book, but no, it's actually a really damn good book. So without spoiling anything, the book's about a young girl named Liv. She's got her last year of high school ahead of her when her father has unexplainably disappeared. Liv and her best friend, Doug, are doing their best to keep her father's bizarre legacy alive, and then they soon get entangled in the same conspiracy as her father before his untimely disappearance.
Everybody likes a good conspiracy.
Yeah, right. It's. I can't wait for you guys to read it. I'm doing my best to get this thing knocked out as quick as possible so that you guys can get a hold of it and then we can do, an actual chat about it, about the book. So. Cool. Again, without spoiling anything, the way that Kraus handles the subject of extraterrestrials and alien abduction is pretty damn great and really creepy. And that's not really a spoiler because that's pretty much given on the cover of the book. But I'll read you a little bit here of what people had to say about Bent Heavens on the back cover of the book. The darkest, angriest alien horror story I've ever encountered, hell yes, says Stephanie Perkins, New York Times bestselling author of There's Someone Inside Your House. Kristen White says, necessarily horrifying, devastatingly timely, and she's a New York Times bestselling author of The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. And Kelly Jensen says, engaging, enraging, and an absolute winner. So I just want to give a big shout out to Daniel Kraus for sending us a copy of this book ahead of schedule. And again, I can't wait for you to read it and also for it to be, released on February 25th. So
right around the corner.
Yeah, man. It's about a week from today. We're recording this on the 19th?
Yeah.
18th, somewhere in there. Yeah. 17th. So yes, it's due out. Is it the 17th?
Yeah.
I quit keeping track. But yeah, coming out real quick. So, perfect book to kind of spring us forward on this episode into these alien encounters. But anybody got anything to add before we get after it?
Nope. Other than Stranger Things season 4?
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's really awesome. I think we're going to have to rewatch it because Shayla did not remember why there was a Russian tie-in. For those of you who have not watched the show yet, I won't spoil it, but yeah, she couldn't remember any of that, so it looks like we're gonna have to rewatch it.
That's good. The last season was awesome, man. I loved it.
Yeah, it was pretty much an 80s action movie.
Yeah. Espionage and all that shit, man. I loved it.
Well, anything else you guys want to add? Presto, anything new? You good? New computer?
A new old computer, so...
Yeah.
Windows Vista, yeah. What up?
Windows 7, motherfucker. Windows 7.
Oh, stop the fucking presses.
Yeah, hang on a second.
Preston has Windows 7. Everybody drop their panties.
Right. Well, speaking of Preston and your brand new new computer, why don't you kick things off?
I hate going first.
Do you really? You poor,
not what I
pitiful
heard.
bastard.
So this story takes place on Sunday, November 1st, 1954, and involves a woman named Rosa Donnelly. And she was walking along a footpath through the fields.
Her last name is Danelli.
Yeah, whatever.
Dandelion?
Donalini.
Danelini.
Anyways.
Poor lady.
Hey, don't worry. There's lots of tough names in this episode, so you'll get your chance.
So she's walking through the fields and the thickets on her way home from her house of the nearby town Siena, Italy, where she where she planned to place
Salinas.
a handful of carnations at the altar of Madonna Pellegrina, the Pilgrim Madonna.
Does she have cone chest piece on too?
No, it's not that Madonna.
Oh.
She wasn't like a virgin.
Yeah.
So not the Pilgrim Madonna, the pagan Madonna.
No, the Virgin, the Virgin Mary.
The Virgin Madonna.
Yeah. God damn it, Steve. Anyways,
True.
This is why Preston hates going first. He takes all the lashings.
It was a path that she used almost daily and was very familiar with, until she entered a small clearing and found some sort of vehicle in the middle of it. The object was only about 7 feet tall, and it looked like 2 tall cones, kind of like, Madonna's, boob bra.
See?
And they were
foreshadowing.
And they were connected at their large ends, like a round diamond shape. It stood on 3 small legs and had an opening in the side that revealed 2 small chairs. As Rosa was starting to wonder about this object, 2 tiny men, only 3 feet tall, walked around from the opposite side to approach her in a friendly fashion. The 2 looked almost human, but their size and odd curve in the center of their lips showed that they were not.
So basically a wee man.
Yeah, wee men. Both wore one-piece gray overalls, like Mario, that covered them from their necks to their feet, and each wore a cape. What the hell?
It's kind of weird.
That's the oddest alien get-up ever. Anyways, they also had odd helmets that covered their ears. The 2 short men tried to talk to Dananelli, and she didn't understand the language that they were using. They snatched some carnations from her and dropped them inside their craft. Then one of them reached inside and brought out 2 white spears, and Donanelli took the opportunity to run from the scene, where she looked back over her shoulder, and then they suddenly vanished.
Wow. That's so weird. Like
that, yeah.
I'm going to steal your flowers, and then I'm going to come back with a spear.
But they were trying to give her a gift, and she just freaked the fuck out. So,
yep. So basically, Danelli ruined the chance for anyone to have actual proof of extraterrestrial visitation to Earth because she just turned, tailed, and ran.
Yeah, because she was mad about her flowers being stolen.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. What a fool.
Dandelion.
And these little midget Marios are like fucking Italians, and then got in their spacecraft and left.
Well, what's interesting about that story is it's 1954, and apparently over in Italy, they were not visited by flying saucers, because the way she describes this thing is more or less like a 1950s rocket ship.
Yeah, like the ones at the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rocket slides. Yeah, it's conical. It's got 3 little legs coming off as a tripod. It sounds to me just like a little rocket ship.
I like the picture. It's like you literally see him trying to steal the flowers. Like,
get him here, bitch.
Little monkeys is what it looks like. Wearing like 18, or I guess it wouldn't be that early, but wearing like the old, leather football helmets.
Oh, yeah, hold on.
Oh,
give him here, bitch.
Like the leatherheads.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's funny.
Little monkey leatherheads.
Are you going to post that in the visual feed on Instagram?
Yeah. All these photos I've got in the notes, they'll all be great, and I'll post them kind of, one by one as to the stories as they hear them. So
cool.
Well, awesome, Presto. You want to go right into your second one, or you want me to go?
No. I'll go into my second one. It's titled Ginger Aliens,
as opposed to the Marianne aliens.
Yeah. So Jose Antonio de Silva from Bebedouro, Brazil.
What up, Chad?
Just wanted to fish like every other motherfucker. He got up early that morning to do just that. After having hiked to the lake and set up camp the day before, around 3 p.m., his plans were changed against his will when a group of 4-foot-tall humanoids, completely covered head to toe in a strange suit, paralyzed his legs and then dragged him aboard a weird craft. For hours, De Silva sat with his captors as the strange vehicle moved. There were no windows, so he could only feel the motion of the craft with no idea where it was going. They had placed a helmet over his head, just like the ones they were wearing themselves. When they reached their destination, he was brought into a large room and placed sitting on a stool, where he saw the beings without their helmets. Among them was one being who was slightly taller and appeared to be in charge. They all looked about the same, roughly human, with red hair that hung to their waists and beards that stretched to their stomachs. Their eyebrows were very thick, about 2 finger widths, and they had no eyelashes on their slightly larger than human green eyes.
So basically, it's a Little People's ZZ Top cover band.
Yeah.
I was going to say a bunch of redheaded Eugene Levy's.
It's like a bunch of alien Gimlis running around. The biggest difference was their mouths, which were a little wider than a human's, and they had no teeth in them, looking more like a fish mouse on the inside. They communicated to De Silva by means of gestures and illustrations. He soon understood that they wanted him to go back to Earth to gather information for them. They eventually returned to live with them for several years before returning to Earth with them as their ambassador and guide. De Silva refused the offer. With that, he was taken back to the strange craft and after some time was dropped off in the middle of the night by a stream. Once he found his way to a road, he was able to learn that he was about 30 kilometers away from where he had been fishing, and 4.5 days had passed.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So basically, he was abducted by a bunch of, not Gimlis, but Gumleys, because they were all toothless, and they just played Pictionary.
Man, I would have been their fucking ambassador. I've been like, you know what? Pay me, bitches. I'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, what else you got to do? You're fishing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's definitely not the typical, Nordic blondes that look all hot and stacked. They're just a bunch of
Short and fat.
rejects. Yeah, no kidding.
No hot and stacked, but short and fat.
That would be funny. He's like, I think I'm gonna pass on that offer. They're like, well, maybe you want to meet our cousins. He brings them over here. He's like, oh, okay. And they're like the what do they call the Palladian women?
Bunch of Legolas's.
Yeah.
Wait, is that where Tolkien got his inspiration for Gimli and Legolas? The Nordics and the redheaded, toothless ginger aliens?
Could have been visited.
Well, things are about to get hotter as I describe to you guys the next group of extraterrestrials that this guy encountered. 19-year-old Lee Parrish had just driven home from his girlfriend's house in Prospect, Kentucky, when along the way he had seen a bright rectangular object in the sky. When he got home, his eyes hurt terribly, and he discovered the 7-minute drive had taken nearly 45 minutes to complete for some strange reason. Worried, his mother convinced him to have hypnotic regression in an attempt to remember what happened during the missing time. And the answers he gave were just as strange. Parrish's car had been lifted off the ground by a bright object, and then Parrish himself had somehow been instantly brought into a room that looked too large to be inside the craft he had seen earlier. In this room were 3 strange objects. To his left was a large black slab shaped almost like a tombstone, with an additional bump at the top that nearly reached the ceiling. On his right was a red block that was just a little shorter than Parrish himself, and in front of him was a more complicated-looking white block. The white block was about Parrish's height, nearly 6 feet tall, and had a surface that curved away from Parrish on the front with a distinct rectangular head. So guys, imagine like an old-timey cash register. Parrish didn't know how he knew, but he sensed these objects were sentient beings, and that the white one was in charge. The black slab had a single limb that stuck out from one side of its front side. It started to use this to slowly touch Parrish on his side and his back. a feeling that was very unpleasant for Parrish. He described it as being cold and burning at the same time. It made Parrish feel like he was vibrating. Next, the red block touched him. It too had a single limb coming from its body, and Parrish sensed that this creature was a bit frightened of him. It slowly touched his soldier. Whoopsie nuggets. It slowly touched his shoulder, and then the side of his head, above the ear and the hairline. These touches came with the sensation of being pricked with a needle, but didn't hurt for very long. After touching him, the red block moved to the white one, and either disappeared. Jesus, now I sound like one of the fucking gingers. It either disappeared behind it, or merged with it. The black slab backed away slowly as the white object made a sound like sandpaper being used. And then the white one moved to the black slab and again either disappeared behind it or merged altogether with it. A moment later, the black slab disappeared, leaving Parrish in the room alone. Then, next thing he knew, Parrish was in his car, looking at the little pond near the roadway that he'd been driving on. His eyes were completely bloodshot, and he had trouble sleeping for days afterwards, simply because of how badly his eyes were hurting. So it sounds like he got abducted by something off of Gumby.
Yeah, that sounds hella weird.
But you know what's interesting about that story particularly is a lot of times when you have abduction cases, you have these weird screen memories. Like, you're not supposed to know exactly what these things look like, so they insert these weird, like, blocked memories. My dog's weighing in again.
It's kind of like a blurred thing, like on Cops or something.
Yeah, because you know how, like on the movie Communion with Christopher Walken, like that first encounter he has, he imagines like a big blocky robot with like a Saturn-shaped hat, kind of like come clanging in there at him with like a spiral on its chest. Then only later does he realize that what he actually saw was like a typical gray alien walking across his floor. So, like, these things don't want you to know exactly what they look like.
Did they have teeth? That's what I want to know.
Not that we know of yet. It was just the blockheads.
Could the gummies gum it? Since they touched his soldier.
Right. Oh, geez. All right, Steve, why don't you take this one for a spin here?
Cool. Late one foggy evening, around 10:30 p.m. at night, out in Frederick, Wisconsin, a farmer named William Bosak was driving home.
I knew you were going to say that.
Was driving home from a co-op meeting at the co-op he had just attended in the nearby town of Frederick when his headlights reflected off something strange on the left side of the road. Bosak had already been driving at a slower pace due to the fog, kind of like this morning. But the strange craft made him slow down as he approached it. The object was 8 to 10 feet tall and was sitting still. On the side of the craft, facing Bozak's direction, was a curved glass panel that he could see through like a window. And inside there was a human-like creature staring back at him, thrown up west side.
West side?
The being appeared to be wearing a tan-colored shirt of some type, repping colors from some nearby space gang, but
the Krups. The Krubs.
But Bosak could also see that the creature had short hair or fur on its upper body and arms. The arms were raised above the being's head. There were more short hair sticking out from the sides of the being's head, though its face and chin were hairless. High up on its head, it had 2 bovine-like ears that stuck out about 3 inches to each side. It also had large protruding eyes. Bozak couldn't see more of the craft or figure because of the fog, but he'd seen enough. He stepped on the gas pedal and got the fuck out of there. It was nearly a month before Bozak plucked up the courage to tell anyone else what happened. On further thought, it occurred to Bozak that the strange being looked just as frightened of him as he had been of it, and he kind of wished he could go back and be friendlier. But nobody believed Bozak after that and started calling him Ballsack.
Ballsack.
If he was wasn't so busy throwing up gang signs at the alien, like they could have been friends. So
Yeah.
I think that's what the problem
Well, the
is.
picture looks like it macking me.
yeah, it does.
No, what this man just described was the one and only encounter with the legendary cow squatch. Oh, shucky dang darns. Well, the next story, Steve, I kind of threw in here, so I don't even know what it's about.
Cool. Surprise. And you ready for that boom, big reveal?
I'm ready for you to try to pronounce all these names properly.
Yeah, here we go. Private security Piero Fortiano Zanfretta, or Zappa, was driving his rounds in Torlioga, Italy, I guess, that icy cold night when just a bit after midnight, his car's engines, lights, and radio all failed at once, bringing the car to a stop in front of one of his clients' houses. Clients? This guy an escort? This guy an escort? While this bothered him, Zanfretta quickly noticed 4 strange lights moving around the client's house. Assuming these were burglars, he grabbed his gun, of course, and flashlight, walked through the open gate, and snuck quietly along the wall to surprise them. Then someone touched his back. Spinning around with the gun and light in front of him, Zanfretta found himself facing a 10-foot-tall being with undulating, hairy green skin. He pointed his flashlight up to see the face and dropped it in shock. The creature had triangular yellow eyes and red veins on its forehead. Zanfretta quickly grabbed up the flashlight and ran for his car, but he was soon aware that something very bright was behind him. He turned to look and discovered a huge triangular craft, glowing brightly enough that he had to shield his eyes. It was raising from the backyard of the house with a hissing noise. He ran to his car and made a desperate call out on his radio, which cut off before he could give his location. An hour later, 2 other patrol cars came through the area and discovered Zanfretta lying on the ground, shaking, pissed his pants. and the now closed gate to the house. As they approached, he jumped up, pointed his gun at them. His eyes were bulging, and he didn't seem to recognize them. He's like, I done seen some shit.
Right, I've been with the shit.
Yeah, they've managed to overpower him, but noticed as they did so that Zanfretta and his clothes were very warm despite the icy temperature he had presumably been lying until just a moment before.
Because he pissed himself.
Well, no, I bet you what happened is that I bet you maybe they were taking down that beam of light to transport him up, and then when they showed up, it scared them and they took off and dropped him.
Could have, yeah, for sure.
It's like a further investigation after daybreak showed 2 huge horseshoe-shaped impressions in the ground behind the house, as if something massive had been sitting there, and 52 witnesses from around the city had seen the bright light in the area at the same time that Zanfretta claimed to have been attacked.
God, holy crap.
Yeah, that's fucking terrifying.
Now, that's one that I want to research more because the illustration on here is a lot more creepy.
Yeah,
it shows...
Like some fucking demon type shit mixed with the creature of the Black Lagoon.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, and it's got Pores and Frida, attached to some kind of apparatus with a giant economy-sized blow dryer pointed towards him.
Yeah.
This will warm us close up and really throw the humans off our scent. Well, to finish things off on this episode, I thought we'd save maybe the weirdest encounter of all for last.
Boom.
And first of all, the illustration of this creature looks like something you'd fight off of Fallout 76.
Yeah, it does.
So let's jump in the Wayback Machine, shall we, and go back to the day of August 22nd, 1955, in Casablanca, California.
Casablanca.
In the highly populated 1950s neighborhood, around 2 p.m., a group of 9 to 10 children, ranging in ages from 5 to 15 years of age, were all out playing in the front yard of the Douglas family. When suddenly one of the children, Kermit Douglas, noticed a strange...
Never name your kid Kermit. Ever.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this was before...
That's true.
Sesame Street.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was a popular name before all that shit.
Before Kermit.
Yeah, before Kermit the Frog. Now nobody's going to name it because he'll always be called Kermit the Frog.
Well, hell, maybe they chose to name him Kermit because they're like, hey, what's a name no one's used since 1955? Maybe after this kid's batshit, report of what happened, no one ever wanted to name their kid Kermit.
Hermit.
Oh. Okay, blah, 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 blah. When one of the children, Kermit Douglas, noticed a strange luminous object hovering above the house. The object flickered for a second and then disappeared. Then, a few seconds later, a metallic flying saucer appeared in its place. Then, as if that wasn't strange enough, after a few more seconds go by, other discs started to appear and disappear with a musical ping, 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 ping sound as the crafts all blipped in and out of the children's sight.
Like, Close Encounters.
Yeah, or steel drums.
Yeah.
The saucers were described as semi-transparent, with rotating luminous rays of light surrounding them, setting them aglow. One of the objects was said to have been as big as 3 houses. This one floated above the group of kids and then landed in a nearby field. A small hatch opened on the side of the craft, and a funny-looking entity reportedly came out. The children described this being as being 3.5 feet tall, with a perfectly spherical head, large red and square eyes, a large opened red mouth, and 4 things in a diamond shape where its nose should be. The creature had its shoulders just like we do, with arms that protruded downwards, but then at its elbows, the appendages split into 2 more arms, that divided by separate forearms, each with separate hands at the end. The creature had a thin waist below its torso, with 4 tentacles acting as its legs. It wore a funny belt that had a silver disc-shaped buckle that acted like a mirror.
Post Malone's buckle.
2 of the children said they saw a being similar to the one that approached them from the large ship, but this one was semi-translucent and was floating in front of the neighbor's house. This creature didn't have the 4 tentacle-like feet, it only had a stump below where its legs should be. After seeing these 2 awkward, squid-like creatures, another boy stated to have seen a silver arm seemingly appear out of nowhere, like he had just popped out of a portal. Without a body or anything, the arm beckoned him to come closer. And after that, this particular child floated up into the sky and then hovered over and landed on top of the roof of a neighbor's house. And they said the arm that kind of came out of this portal was covered in this weird, like, riveted armor, like plate armor, almost like chainmail, but not quite. It was more like fish scales.
Whoa.
From on top of the house, the child reportedly got scared, tripped, and fell off the house, landing on his head.
What an idiot.
Right?
You just floated through the sky by a fucking alien's arm.
Uh-huh. And then you're just like, oopsie daisies.
Oh, I'm going to fall off the damn thing. Well, you know what? Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, I just picture that chubby kid off of The Simpsons. I bit my Wookiee. Luckily, he only suffered minor injuries and no other damage to his head other than some light amnesia. One of the other boys tried to run towards one of the spaceships that landed in a yard, but he was stopped by an invisible force field. While another child said to have met a strange man wearing a helmet in a nearby garden. This entity was not like the first 2 and had 2 gun-like apparatuses that he shot lasers out of, which paralyzed the boy dead in his tracks.
Oh my god. I got a whole mess of popsicles down here.
Right? It was just a neighbor dowsing.
Yeah, I'm going to take advantage of this situation with these aliens, boys.
You can find some shelter in my basement. One of the horrified kids took off toward one of the nearby houses, where he almost plowed over his own mother as she sprinted outside to see what the panic was all about. And just like the other adults who said they had checked on the children to see what the commotion was, she didn't see anything other than the children playing out in the yard. So parents were pretty much oblivious to these fucking squid creatures, the creepy pervert shooting kids with lasers that froze them, the flying saucers, all of it.
These kids are traumatized for life.
Right. But you know what they say, like kids and animals always have a little bit more of a innocence about them, thus allowing them to see kind of into that liminal state.
100%. And people with, like autism, stuff like that.
Autism, Down syndrome, hell, even people that have mental, what do you call that? Sorry, I just...
Mental illness,
mental illness,
psychosis and schizophrenia,
exactly.
stuff like that.
Yeah. The first entity that had approached the group of kids earlier had now told Kermit Douglas that if he climbed up in the tallest tree in the yard, they would come back for him in 1/4 of an hour to take him on a trip in one of their spaceships. So excitedly, Kermit then grabbed another boy and climbed up in the tree. But the other children didn't want them to be up there out of fear. Sorry.
Stranger danger?
I know. Let me start over. So excitedly, Kermit and the other boy climbed up in the tree, almost in a trance-like state. But the other children didn't want them to be up there. So out of fear, they had a moment of clarity. It's genius, I think. And they grabbed a garden hose and began to spray Kermit and the other boy to snap them out of the trance. They slowly coaxed the two boys out of the tree, just as a Saturn-like shaped object appeared in the sky, where entities again crawled out of a hatch and began reaching their weird double-armed arms out, trying to grab the boys as they climbed down the tree.
Fuck.
Yep. Then, about 10 minutes later, the largest saucer, the one that was the shape of about 3 houses, then lifted up off the ground, approached the tree, where it hovered there for a few minutes, and then flew away, followed by the other saucers that had landed in the nearby neighborhood. Supposedly, at one point, a few parents had reported to newspapers they all did come outside to see what the supposed commotion was, but they just assumed all the kids were playing a big game and nobody saw any spaceships or strange creatures. And supposedly, this story was reported to a variety of different local newspapers, as well as, early on flying saucer magazines and other types of periodicals.
Reported like that the kids said they saw this stuff, but the parents didn't see anything?
Yeah. Because the kids all got freaked out. I mean, police came. Yeah. They had all sorts of different, authorities.
I'm sorry, but we heard a commotion. Oh, they're just playing a fucking ball game. What ball game sounds like a craft? The size of 3 houses.
You've got Freeze Alien Tag. You've got the Can Saucer.
Yeah, no shit.
You've got all sorts of great games out there.
That's crazy.
Four-Armed Charlie. I mean, the list goes on.
It's like I could just picture like a parody of this. Mom, don't you see that craft over there? No, I don't see it. And it's like this massive fucking ship, like the Deep Thought from Hitchhiker's Guide. No, I don't see it anywhere. What are you looking at?
Huh.
Like idiots.
God, yeah. But yeah, that is the story of the Casablanca siege.
Pretty cool. Terrifying, but
It's just the pandemonium that happens when all of a sudden, it's not bad enough. You got 2 of these weird 4-armed, tentacle creatures just walking around. You've got some other weirdo who's like, oh shit, I came here to abduct a kid too. Oh God. I must have got my schedule mixed up. And a whole fleet of saucers just landing in this 1950s neighborhood. I think it'd make a killer movie, dude. If somebody could go back and make this movie, I think it'd be so rad. And I also, you gave me that UFO comic book. Let me grab it here real quick. You gave me the Gold Key UFO Flying Saucers comic book #1. I've got all the Gold Key saucer comics digitally. And I'm going to go through there because all those things is basically like a comic book translation of classic 1950s, 1960s UFO and alien encounters.
That's tight.
So I'm going to comb through those. I'm going to comb through those this summer and see if I can find, more stories to do deeper dives into. But I'm really hoping that comic is actually in there.
Hell yeah, that'd be cool, especially because you can clip photos out and put it on.
Exactly,
Instagram.
Yeah. I'm pretty stoked. So
hella cool. Yeah, I what would you do question. So the question is,
dude, go for it. We got plenty of time now.
The cliche, say there's either a meteorite or a bomb or some kind of cataclysmic. You know what I'm saying?
Cataclysmic?
Cataclysmic. Yes, there you go. Event's going to happen. You know you're going to die. You know it's on the way. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no amount of reach you can go to escape this. What would you do? Like, would you purge or would you like
Hookers and blow?
I'd go get my wife, or I'd go get my family. Like, what would be your thing?
So,
because like me, I think I would purge. I don't know what I do, but I would do something that I know I wouldn't. There wouldn't be repercussions type of thing.
I just picture Tommy Boy. I'm gonna do something naughty.
Yeah. And then like we had this conversation with a couple people, or I did, and we, as like I'm talking about me and my fucking mind.
At your last co-op meeting.
Yeah. We were talking about this, and they were like, well, you know, you purge, like you're gonna do something bad to somebody. And I'm like, but you're not understanding this. If this was coming and this was gonna happen, everybody around you is going to be doing something else. And you don't know what they're going to be doing. So they're probably going to be purging too. So at that point, I'm going to be like, well, I could try to go do this thing with my family, or I could try to go see this person I care about. Am I going to get there? Nah, I'll be picked off. So
that's true. Yeah.
Might as well purge. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird thing. I just think most people have their morals. And they're like, I would never do something like that. But I just find the idea of them purge movies interesting, but they've just gotten so hokey and like they've stretched it out so much. But like the idea of something like that, and like, you know, like how there's so many extreme shits going on right now within our government and with and you know the political climate we have, and like I could see something like that, you know, possibly being a reality in some weird future. But
well, your question poses, I'm going to answer it, but the question poses another question of people's answers are going to be driven by their moral you know,
code.
compass. Anybody who is a God-fearing individual, Christian or whatever. Exactly. Yeah. They're going to ask, well, I mean, am I still going to go to heaven? Because what you're describing basically is kind of like a rapture in a way. Their answers are going to be muddled by their morals, and their religious beliefs, but I don't know, man. Because then you can't ask like, well, are we still going to go to heaven or hell? I mean, we don't know. I think is the appropriate answer.
It's one of them. It's one of them questions, kind of like when you ask somebody that believes in whatever they believe. You ask them, well, how do you believe that? And you're like, well, it's faith. It's kind of in a roundabout way. That question is kind of a faith thing too, because like you're saying, you don't know what you would do because everybody's faith is different, you know, beliefs are different.
Well, yeah, is this the final test, so to speak, you know, kind of a rapture type cataclysmic event? I don't know. I think to answer it fairly, I would say, and this is off the record, I'd say orgy. Okay. Not the band.
You say off the record, like... Is it not going to get on the podcast, or
no, it'll be on the podcast. I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, I think you want to go out, you know, the best way possible, man.
But that's the thing, though. You round that. Okay, that's what you want to do. You want to go to an orgy.
I round up the 4 people who don't want to kill everyone. I know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, how are you going to know? You're like, oh, let's have an orgy, and then like, there's going to be that one person's like, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this motherfucker right here, or we're going to go to this orgy, and I'm going to purge at this orgy.
Well,
after the orgy's conceded, of course.
God. I'm going to give you the address of the orgy, and it's going to be like the loony bin. Not the crazy house, but the comedy club we have in Wichita.
Yeah.
Go tell your jokes somewhere else, Steven.
I'd be like Gary Busey, and I'd take like a line of Coke off my dog and then like party it up. That way I'd be like high as balls when the comedy hit.
I remember him talking about that. It's like, do you know how important it is for a cokehead to get the Coke? It's like when the Coke spills on your dog, and then you just go down there and start sniffing your dog like crazy. Like, jeez, what the fuck, dude? That's crazy.
Come here, Bruce.
Well, Press.
Bruce.
That wasn't Coke. That was dander. Okay, Preston, what's your answer, man? What are you doing? Last day on Earth. There's not a tomorrow.
I already told you. Hookers and blow.
What? Oh, you did preface that. Hookers and blow. Or puppers and blow, you know.
Yeah, he'll be like, I'm gonna go down to the Mason Temple and try to stop the apocalypse with the fucking Altair from Assassin's Creed and all the Templars.
Right.
I'm gonna crack the code, the mystery
Maybe
code.
that's to crack the code. He's gonna crack cocaine the code. Maybe that's the secret. Maybe that's where the orgy is down there at one of those Masonic temples. And maybe I get to go in there because I've been in it twice.
Because you broke the code, Preston's little notebook.
I remember the time I got into the Masonic temple.
That's why the apocalypse is coming, because you broke the code and you snuck into the temple.
Yeah. Oh, what
you
if
destroyed the mystery?
Way to go,
that is
Sean.
Can I get out there like as Galactus is coming to the Earth, getting ready to swallow it, and I can see a shadow? Can I just yell angrily, "Make a better fucking code"? I figured this out, and I'm not the brightest person on the Earth.
Like, what's your password?
Man.
1, 2, 3, 4. That's it.
Huh. Oh, shit. Steve, I like that. I think from now on, you should always have a what if question at the end of every episode.
That'd be cool.
That'd be really badass, man.
It's hard because I don't want the questions and the answers to come off too edgy, because like when I say purge, I'm not going to go into detail, but like
no. Yeah, I mean simple.
The
simple
idea,
enough,
the idea of that, I think there's going to be a lot of people.
There'd be a purge. And you want to join the purge?
Especially because like a lot of people's faith is dwindling now compared to other times in history of mankind, and it's just true. Like, I don't know, you're starting to see way more animalistic shit, man. Brutality everywhere you go.
It is getting kind of insane, isn't it?
It's fucking scary.
It really is, but yeah, no, I think that's a good answer, man. You would join the purge, I would join the orgy. And then Preston will be doing coke off the back of different dogs.
It's like fucking Tony Montana over here.
Yeah.
Okay. Want to play rough?
What does he say on the end of that Jack Nicholson movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, The Departed? Don't come up until you can't breathe, or whatever he says.
Oh, yeah. It's like, remember this? Don't come up until you can't breathe.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I watched, dude. Okay, let me tell you this right now. A good fucking movie that's funny as shit is Anger Management. With Jack Nicholson and Adam Sandler. I think I watched that this week. It's on Netflix now. I know this has nothing to do with paranormal, but that movie is so funny because of how intense Jack Nicholson is. And he makes you feel so. He just has this style of making you feel so uncomfortable, and he just kills it in that movie. And whenever he's like in that car and they start singing the West Side Story, I feel pretty. Oh, so dude, it's just every time it makes me laugh so hard. But yeah, you guys haven't seen that movie, you totally got to.
Oh yeah, I saw that shit in theaters, man.
Yeah. I was talking to the audience, our many, many listeners and fans.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit! Sorry, I thought you were about to tell a story. I was talking to our listeners. And well, speaking of Netflix, I wanted to mention this before we end the show. Speaking of movies and Netflix and the paranormal, if you guys haven't watched it, yes, I'm speaking to the many fans and also Preston. If you guys haven't watched the movie Horse Girl yet, you guys should all really check this movie out. It's on Netflix. It was in Sundance recently. And spoiler-free, quick elevator pitch. It's about a girl who likes horses, who has a very mundane life, and slowly begins to assume that she may have been abducted by aliens. Mm-hmm. And it's just a weird
stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just a weird, like indie, lighthearted drama. That's the best way to describe it. Check it out, though.
When I watched the trailer for it. I was like, oh, this is weird. I thought it was going to be about a girl with like autism. And
okay, sure, yeah.
Because like she was like kind of quirky and stuff like that. And I was like, no. And Molly Shannon plays her mom, and you kind of get like a vibe from the trailer.
No, it wasn't even her. It's not her mom. It's her coworker.
Oh, really? Damn, that's crazy. I thought it was a mom.
So have you not watched it yet then?
No, I haven't watched it yet. I watched the first 10 minutes of it.
I see.
but I really want to. But I like in the trailer, like it kind of gives you that vibe that like people are kind of like, why are you so weird? Like, I don't know. But like, and then you quickly realize that like she's thinking she's being abducted by aliens, and yeah,
it's a really great movie. It's something you should not watch at 11 or 12 o'clock at night before you're going to bed, because it's a little dry and you really want to make sure that you're paying attention, you know, and you don't kind of drift off and stuff like that. But it's really something awesome, I think.
Hell yeah. It's definitely on my list to watch this week.
Yeah, it's really great. I didn't realize it was Sundance until after I watched it. And I actually messaged my buddy Seth, who goes to Sundance every year. And he's like, oh, yeah, we missed this at Sundance, but I heard it's really great. And I'm like, yeah, it really is. Like, it's a great drama outside of the paranormal aspect to it. But now it's just even cooler because of how they tie that in. So,
hell
yeah, there you go. Check out Horse Girl.
Not a great name.
No, I text Rob and I'm like, dude, you got to watch this. And I sent him the movie poster screen grab, and he's like, why?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's an alien abduction movie. He's like, oh shit, never would have guessed it. And I'm like, no, you wouldn't have.
Why?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, do you guys got anything else you want to plug before we get out of here other than the normal plugs?
Not shit. I want to give a shout out to Rob's mom.
Yeah,
Deb,
for sure. Deb
going through some medical things, and we want to wish her the best of well wishes and luck.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
So get better, and then you can join the orgies out there during the purge.
Well, there you go. We should ask her what she wants to do, Steve.
Don't judge me in my backpack.
Oh man,
we love you, Deb and Rob,
for sure, and Halo.
Yeah, and Deb.
Ooh, all right.
And Tizzy.
And Preston, you got anything out of the ordinary you want to plug?
Well, I'd like to bring up that I got a little gem coming in the mail tomorrow. So March Madness is going to be upon us because I got one hell of a paranormal story that I'm going to drop in March. So,
oh snap! Yeah, the follow up to the abduction to the 9th planet.
Well, no. I mean, this is like a crazy IBM computer time traveling story from England.
I love it. Perfect teaser. Everybody is equally confused and intrigued. Hell yeah. Can't wait, dude. I'm excited.
And I got the sex book too, so that's coming.
Oh, you did. If you guys thought that if you guys thought the book I picked up called Sexual Hauntings Through the Ages by Colin Waters was saucy, we're hoping you ain't heard nothing yet. It could be all the same stories for all we know, but for as little as you paid on eBay, it is worth the what's Brady call them? eBay roulette.
It is, yeah. Especially like when the description says there's a story about somebody being ravaged by Satan. Like, ooh
snap!
Sign me up.
Yeah, there you go. Steve's in. Cool. Well, speaking of Steve, what do you want to plug, bud? Before we get out of here.
Cool. Check out our Instagram, PXL Paranormal. You can get on there and follow all the visual companion guides and little pictures and stuff like that. You can also check us out on Facebook, Pixelated Paranormal Podcast. Get on there. We should post all the shows on there. And you can check out our awesome new horror podcast called 13 Nightmares, which is myself, Sean, and our friend Brady. And we're about to drop episode 2 here pretty soon, hopefully. And
hoping to get it in by the end of February, but if not, the first part of March.
Yeah. And the first episode was very well received. We got a lot of compliments on it. And we are going to be sharing what the new movie is so people can see it in case they haven't seen it. The next movie is Alien, which I'm assuming everybody's already seen that movie. But there might be some other people. So it'll be a lot of fun. We go in depth on the movies. We go behind the scenes, did you know facts, stuff like that, and talk about the plot of the movie, of course, too. And it's a lot of fun. We're really passionate about it, and we're excited.
Yeah, most definitely. Got a lot of fun projects lined up for that podcast, as well as this podcast. We've got a couple really cool interviews lined up. One of them, here's a good teaser. One of them is about a young lady whose sister may have been possessed by a cursed tree. And the other one's our good buddy Joe, who tells us a story of a couple entities that he encountered as a young baby. Here's what's funny, Preston. You giggle because when Joe first told us the story of the white ghost and the black ghost, it was nothing compared to the little tidbit he told me on Xbox the other night. So I'm absolutely thrilled. Joe got an interview he did with somebody involved, and then we'll interview Joe on a round table. And I just can't wait to share that story with everybody. It is pretty fantastic. So
that's tight.
Cool. Awesome. And then speaking of our network, check out the rest of the shows on the Pixelated Sausage Network. Check out Mark's solo show, Pixelated Sausage. Please check out his Attack the Backlog. Preston, what's my favorite race car podcast ever?
Sports Cars Unleashed, where if you're not first, you're last.
And that's not even on the actual Pixelated Sausage Network, I don't believe, but it's still pretty great. Then check out our friends over at CD Trade Post at Pawnee and Seneca. Please go check out Fast Print here in Wichita. And Preston, what do you got for us?
As always, if you need a beard, if you want a beard, if you want to grow a gummy Gimli beard to all its might, check out BigDobsBeardBomb.com and use promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your order, and get yourself some scents such as Dundee Cedar, Bay Rum, Sweet Tobacco, Citrus, Classic, and my new favorite, Mint. And then check out Fresh.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say check out Fresh, like it was one of those like dinner box programs. I'm like, wait, when do we start plugging that shit? Oh, hell yeah. And also check out our friends over at gunslingersoap.com. And then lastly, we do have a Patreon, guys. It's usually listed at the end of all of our episode notes on iTunes and whatnot. We're going to be revamping that and having some pretty cool stuff on there for everybody who wants to join up. Again, on Pixelated Paranormal, there will not be any paywalls. You're not going to get any extra content, but we will still have some pretty cool tiers on there that you might want to look at in the upcoming future. And then merch, guys, is right around the corner. We've got some t-shirts and some other stuff lined up. Hopefully dropping that either the middle of March or first part of April. Finally. So we can't wait for that. All right. Anything else, guys?
Yeah. No, I'm good.
Cool. All right. Well, I'd like to say cheers to all the weird shit in the world and those of us that love to talk about
And
it.
stay spooky and stay on the paranormal highway.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. Email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.